Hey guys, I need to talk to you about something. I got into Warhammer 40k through my players. That is, my D&D players. And we're at the grand ending of the first arc, and the second arc is going to be an homage to everything that I associate with Warhammer 40k. To be honest, my D&D hobbies, the channel, and gaming have had an incredible large hiatus due to me becoming a young dad. And without harping on about how life-affecting dad life is, suffice to say that it sort of realigned my priorities and has forced my gaming hobbies to become a bit more sporadic, spontaneous, and whimsical. Now, Warhammer 40k is interesting in that it has its origins set in all kinds of things that I find interesting and enjoyable. Heavy metal, wargaming, ttrpgs. I'm on this continuous search in finding the connection between metal, sci-fi, and fantasy, and Warhammer 40k has acted this on with me, which led me to this tome. But more on that one later. Because what is it that I want to achieve with Warhammer 40k? Well, honestly, I want a hobby that's a bit more analog, which also sort of celebrates emergent storytelling. Video games definitely provide this, but as of late, I've become a bit numbed by video games as a technology. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but storytelling is more evoked by means of friends, D&D, and painting, actually. It's just different. Watching movies as well. Gaming, when I play games, I tend to play them, and whenever a moment of emergent storytelling arrives, I jot it down somewhere. I'm sort of analyzing it, how that was an experience for me as a player, and then I create D&D shit about that. But I want to veer into more analog hobbies. Another reason for that is, like I said, I'm a young dad, and I want the kid to see that I'm trying to be as creative as possible. Now, the relevance of this all also really lies within the sheer activity, the thing in itself, right? And also its rich history of Warhammer and painting. And ultimately, I want to build a Space Wolf army, and probably a World Eaters one too. Maybe also Tau. I know that's controversial, but I'm 35, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Now, at the moment, Warhammer 40k totally dominates my life. I play Space Marine 2, I play Darktide, I play the Inquisitor ARPG, I'm reading the Horus Heresy, I'm listening to Bolt Thrower, and I'm playing Wrath and Glory, the TTRPG. I play a Absolver. So all in all, it's seeking and seeping in all my gaming facets, which is why I just had to make this video. I'm taken over and devoured by Warhammer 40k, and it's not much of a choice, really. So anyway, I found out that I was really into it. I knew I wanted a Space Wolf army, but I wanted to do a good job, so I started practicing painting with the introductory set, and here's how that went. So this is where it gets a little deep. I am an associative thinker, the best kind and the worst kind. You can't really have a normal conversation with me without either getting exhausted or mildly entertained. But the talks can get performative from my side of things, and it's sometimes it feels a little inauthentic, I guess. But for a video, it's fine. Anyway, to highlight and conduct my thinking, I tend to read a lot and I write. In particular, I write down my dreams because every night I dream. I feel sorry for people who don't dream. Every night, for me, it's like an IMAX movie. And when I read good books, words can even shape up into a pretty crisp image. And I write down the words that did that. And before I sleep, I read it again. And sometimes I dream about the sequence that I imagined which is amazing. I'm so happy that that's a thing. If you have dreams, try it. It's fun. So yeah, I would dream about it again in a sort of lucid state, and it's really rewarding. The only downside is it's a very self-involved activity, so it's not good if you have, social responsibilities or responsibilities in the household. It does, however, give me an opportunity to continuously work creatively. I'm not very creative or artistic at all, but I am fueled by vivid imagery quite a lot. So every morning I read and I write with 2 coffee. At least I did prior to being a family man. Now I read when I have the chance or when I'm focused. So anyway, I'm reading the Horus Heresy. That's my point. And my interest in Warhammer 40k is multifaceted. It's awesome. It has a lot of media versions. It combines sci-fi and fantasy. It understands high contrast, both in lore and presentation. Moreover, it holds mysteries that are difficult for me to ignore personally. When I was 6, I would play with He-Man figurines at my grandparents' house from my mom's side, and I get lost into the world of Eternia. When I was 13, I discovered old comic books in the loft of the house of my grandparents from my father's side. These comics books are called Storm, and drawn by Don Lawrence and written by Martin Lodewijk, and it was a 1970 British-Dutch attempt at having Conan the Barbarian in space, essentially. And then when I saw that there was a pattern there, I also got a wind of Star Wars, and Star Wars sort of took over. But the original ideas of all those IPs or franchises is Sword and Planet. It's like John of Mars, if you know that. So I loved Sword and Planet aspects of everything, and for years I rolled at Star Wars as a main source of inspiration, but then something changed. I got a hold of Heavy Metal, the 1982 movie based on the French magazine, and the depiction of sci-fi fantasy with metal really spoke to me. And in that Sword and Planet style as well, I was enchanted, to say the least. Now with Warhammer, the beauty aesthetics are combined with the grim realities of war, and it's armored. Most Sword and Planet and Heavy Metal aesthetics show more sort of muscular bodies and bodybuilding, like the Conan the Barbarian aspect of it, which I like as well. But no, with Warhammer 40k, it's far more armored and solemn a little bit. But still, with Warhammer 40k, I also realized that there was a pattern of some sorts, a pattern that seeps through my career, my life, and my personal choices. Now, in a condensed way, it's that I really like heavy metal and Sword and Planet aesthetics. And my players in my previous homebrew D&D mentioned that my style is really fitting for the Warhammer 40k universe. I hadn't invested in Warhammer 40k that much anymore since 2007, I think. And then when I started D&D, which I played it through my 20s, but I got really into it at 30. I've been playing it for the last 5 years non-stop. And I set out on a kind of a gaming quest where I DM a homebrew setting in which I explore the grim dark and the heavy metal aesthetics. Because my players at one point, when I homebrewed, said, you really have a knack for Warhammer 40k. So they really got me into it. It was passed on to me like black tar heroin, to be honest. This search has led me to this book, which I've only recently acquired. It's called The Morning of the Magicians, and it's about secret societies, conspiracies, and vanished civilizations. It's basically about the way that social magic and niche versions of the humanities can hypnotize its followers. And it is the de facto book that seemingly influenced youth culture in the 70s and 80s and celebrated sci-fi fantasy. In other words, the book sort of promises an explanation where heavy metal was married to sci-fi fantasy. Because it's, I don't know, man, it's like the 20th century pre-Raphaelite movement, I guess. I haven't read all through it because I got lost at work. I gave it to a student, and then it ended up underneath a closet. But I found it. Anyway, I'll keep you up to date on the book, as it's sort of the logical thread through my foray of exploring Warhammer. Because despite my contemplations as I'm reading through this, we also have a practical objective here. I want to homebrew something that is inspired by Warhammer 40k, but it's important to me personally that I don't steal from Warhammer 40k, because it doesn't answer questions. When you steal ideas for D&D, which you do, the problem is that it becomes a problem when it doesn't answer a question. So I think that the question is going to be leading as a concept, and whatever stems from that or springs from that, I'll just take and gamify. So here's the question. What steps do we adhere to in an attempt to connect heavy metal with the grimdark in a narrative homebrew tabletop RPG? Now, there are 3 things that I want to figure out here. 1, what is it about analog hobbies that fuel narrative? 2, what is it about heavy metal, White Dwarf, and the whimsical nature of things when that first got conceptualized? And how did that end up in a grimdark setting? Like, what was the order of things there? I want to find that out. And who the fuck is the unknown master in The Morning of the Magicians? This is sort of this idea that Western society has evil in it, and it hides, and it comes up through whatever horrors played out in the Second World War. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But that's what this book is about. So with all this pre-banter out of the way, let's get to the actual hobby of Warhammer. Because my ultimate aim is to have a Space Wolf, a World Eaters, and a Tau army. And in order to get to painting, I bought myself that introductory set and went on my way. So here's how that went. So, yeah, I'm onto something, I guess. But honestly, I don't know. Maybe that's what YouTube needs right now. Maybe it's something that you need. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just record and we'll see. And we gotta know how we meander through this era of digital rage. We're not living in a digital age, we're living in digital rage. Because there was a time, man, I feel like it was in 2012, 2013, where the world seemed so optimistic and harmonious when it comes to tech, politics, science. Or maybe I was just 21. That could also be the case. Anyway, assembling an army out of the box set was great. I put on some movies in the background to watch. It was Aliens and Alien 3, sort of to get into the groove of things. And the weird thing is, when you assemble an army, you start to think, you start to visualize what they look like. And it's funny because you also pay attention to the movie in the background a little bit more. It's a very nice way of watching movies, I gotta say. And it's odd, man, because Alien 3 is kind of the black tar heroine of the 90s, whereas Aliens is the the cocaine-fueled optimism of the 80s. It's sort of grimdark heroin with acid flashbacks when you watch them back to back. You know, you see that icy, malignant hunger that gnaws from within the bones, only to be mediated by the sense-deadening sweetness of barbaric blow. Yeah, I wonder if cocaine and acid will heal heroin addiction. Probably not. Anyway, good films, and great for the introductory set. You know, the thing with Aliens and Alien 3 is that it's a perfect example, I think, of the Sekhmet theory. Sekhmet theory is an idea that every 10 years there's a solar flare, a minor one or something, and it changes the mind of people on Earth, especially the youth and the adolescents, and it's a model for youth culture. And like from the 60s, youth culture was about coffee and suits with the Beatles, and then at the end of that they became hippies. So that was the 70s, it became hippies, and then from the 80s it was punk, it was leather, it was spiky hair, it was violent. And then from the 90s it was grunge, which is sort of skateboard hippie-ish, and then at the tail end of that it changed into the Matrix, the long leather coats and shit like that. And then from 2000 to the 2010s, it changed into the hipster again. And now, from 2010 to 2020, you know, I get the feeling that everyone is looking like a cyberpunk character now. But yeah, I feel like there's a different freedom going on right now than there was 10 years ago. Anyway, good films, and great for the introductory set, great for assembling the army. On day 2, I started to reflect on people that I know and my friends, right? And whenever I think about them, I go back in time. I still have a version of them that is 20. But, I mean, we're mid-30s now. During the painting, I updated how I thought about them, truly. And that was beautiful. It's also fucking good riddance of painting a miniature, because your mind starts to decompress a little bit, and because you're not on a screen all the time, you're not distracted, and you start to contemplate your friends. It's amazing. Anyway, at 35, you know, you're wiser, I guess. You're a little bit more sensible, or you're just tired and you take naps so you don't do stupid things. Nevertheless, it showed me, like, alright, I have to update my social circle a little bit in my mind and give room to my family, my son, because, you know, I love these statues, and they're all going to be his one day. But it's also really important to know that it's his turn. Like, I'm done. I have these things, and they inspire me. I like looking at them. It relaxes me. But everything regarding him and other people's kids transcends my personal needs. This is just aesthetics. It's not important. So, anyway, this hobby is granted to me as a young parent, because I wanted to stop playing video games, be off the grid a little bit, and painting minis and making this video has given me a playful focus. Because I'm learning all the time, really, when I paint. On the second Space Marine, I made a few mistakes on his pauldrons, and I spilled a bit of Balthasar gold over it. And, you know, you readjust and you figure it out. And what was cool is at the same time I was watching the Hulk Hogan documentary, and there was this thing that reminded me of Warhammer 40k. There's a sense of the 80s going through the Ultramarines that I only recently truly appreciated. It's like Ultramarines are these retired bodybuilders from the 80s. And you note with Ultramarines that men get what they resemble. It's not what they merit. That's a quote from this book, by the way. And it's cool because, yeah, you can see it with Ultramarines. It's not about what they want. It's about what they resemble. And to be honest, Jesus Christ, that's happening with our lives as well. Like, if you take away the nerdy shit, you see a bald guy with a beard. That's what I resemble, not what I merit. I don't really have that anymore. I made choices, but nature has also made a choice for me. And this is what I look like, so I sort of have to act according to what I look like, I guess, which is sort of like, I don't know, I look like a dude that sells barbecues. Anyway, that's what the Ultramarines did to me. I should make a picture of every mini that I paint and write down feedback. You know, this breastplate is a bit unfinished. There's blotches of blue on the gun. And then I would revise the paint job. The revision idea, by the way, is pretty smart. I would revise my painting the same as I revise my writing, which is, this is not an example of my writing. I don't write well, by the way, but fuck it. It's YouTube, who cares? The revision idea is there a logical thread throughout your story? Are there things that are redundant and can you remove them? Is there signposting and are there linking words? And then at the end, you know, have you figured out all the details? But you can ask the same thing for painting. Like, what is the story I'm trying to tell with this paint scheme? And are there things that I thought of that didn't work out? Can I change that again? You know, remove the redundancies. Am I signposting correctly? Like, is the lighting correct? And the highlights, right? And then I would say, all right, go over the paint scheme again. Did you really do what they said according to the instructions? Didn't you miss out on anything? And then maybe check out if the base is done again. Like, for example, the Ultramarines are done, but I still have to do the red on their eyes. Well, I'll work on that in due time. So being void of attention is out of the question for me, because it does fuel me deeply. I think it fuels anybody. I should focus on it as creatively as I can. You know, I should set aside the guy, the bro that goes out and drinks. That's over. Although those moments were the things that advanced my imagination, now I sort of have to focus on generative things within, you know. Because I can't do those things anymore. I mean, I can go out and I can still get drunk, don't worry. But it is time for a new generation of people to figure out and experiment. Yeah. I'll experiment through this. So yeah, I'm developing into greater pastures. It's going to be WoW, it's going to be Warhammer, it's going to be obscure RPGs to be the main ingredient, and of course the Warhammer, the wargaming, and the D&D writing. So anyway, I finished the Space Marines here, and I'm moving on to the knits, the Tyranids, and they're cool, I gotta say. It feels like I'm on the production set of some 80s movie, and I have to make miniatures for a scene. And it dawned on me that my senses are somewhat heightened as I studied the beast, the horror, the swarm. You look at the Tyranid, and you get this idea of what does he smell like? There must be a musty stench of death, akin to that of a serpent's nest. of dead things gone rotten. And I wonder if the life of a Tyranid is that much different from me. Because here I am, devouring things to survive and question, droned by signs of purpose. I'm not more than a bug, really. Because maybe purpose is just a pheromone, man. Yeah, something's changing again. I feel like I'm over the hunt for games and game-related stories. The passion is there, but the search for more and something new is finally over. I can now work on honing, painting, revising, maybe even writing. And somewhere in this tale, this sequence of unrelated occurrences, it dawned on me. I'm not young anymore, I'm a senior of sorts. I'm not a collector of stories, but a manifestation of one, including games. Like, they are part of the story. And I just find it hard to believe that there's going to be a new game. The one that's changing me. No, I've had that. It's over. There's not going to be a new Mass Effect. There's not going to be a new Shadow of the Colossus. There may be a new Elden Ring, but I like that game for decennia to come. I think that the one thing that I would be interested in is like a No Man's Sky, but where I can actually shoot shit and not build things. I don't care about that. Like Destiny, but with spaceflight and planets. I would be down for that. Other than that, nothing truly interests me in video game vistas at the moment. I liked Cyberpunk, but yeah. And Elden Ring is the best game. Yeah. It's odd how delighted I am to assemble an army. Because painting is so rewarding. It's pure and heavy dopamine, man. It's crisp. And I suppose because you're closed off and focused on the miniature, look, here's a little miniature, and I'm looking at it as I'm painting it. There's a sense of empathy going on. You're creating a story as you're looking at it, because that's what happens here. All of these pontifications came with the hobby, and I wouldn't have had them if I didn't paint, I'm sure. You clean your brushes, you water down the paint, you learn coating and layers, and you wind down a bit. I'll say this, growing up and moving on has been the thematic pursuit of this video, and I suppose that means that my players in D&D will have to update their situation as well. It's war in my homebrew setting, and one of my players has actually killed the king. Now that, I should harp on that, because a king killer, it's cool and it had its reasons, but you're not just killing a person, you're also killing the idea of established order. What is that? In what state of mind are you when you do that? And have you thought it through? I mean, it's the king. Surely you've thought it through. What is this world that you want to see, if not just a burned down world? Update that thought. Reflect on it. Another one of my players has been offered a new life and has reunited with his sister. It was more about the change of the player, but it's also interesting if you note that the sister has changed through little mannerisms from their youth. The idea of time, I want to see that. I want to see if we can contemplate that for a fictional female character. Yeah. That's really cool to do. And the dwarf of the party has allied himself with the mighty Leventrinsk Empire as a merc. But is a mercenary truly neutral, or is it just numbed indifference? Those are the questions that arose from painting. And then there were some other more gamifying things that inspired me. The purity seals on the guns, the claws and the heels of the knits, the forked tongue on the demon, the belt on the space marine with a holster, a pouch, and a grenade that seemed like a gas grenade. Like a flashbang. Those details will be mentioned in the homebrew as well. As for the gameplay, it seems to me that the hit ratio is more in favor of the players. That's also in Wrath and Glory. So the miss chance seems lower. Maybe I gotta do that with my homebrew of Starfinder as well. So it's just a thought. I have more thoughts, by the way. Like, they could sacrifice their stamina, that's the Starfinder system, and then they exchange that for full damage output. Like, could be fun. Now, as for Warhammer40k, I'm in a situation where I'm fueled with the hobby. Like I said, I'm reading Horus, I'm playing Wrath, I'm painting, I'm about to play as well. I play video games, I listen to Bolt Thrower and Chainsword 6, I think it's called. The list goes on in how much Warhammer40k fuels me. Also the YouTube videos, man. There's so many good YouTube videos on Warhammer40k. Anyway, I'm moving on to assemble my Space Wolf army. My son and I already went to get the paint, so I'll probably work on that. And I don't know what the next video is going to be, though. Maybe I'll write a chapter on my ongoing lead RPG, which essentially summarizes everything I've been going on about in this video, but condensed in a POV chapter. It really helps in planning D&D. Okay, guys, if you have trouble homebrewing D&D, read some lit RPGs and try to write it like that from the perspective of a player, so that you know what it is that you have to highlight when you're going to run it. It really helps. So yeah, I might live stream a little bit more. Maybe have a new go at World of Warcraft Hardcore. I still have the personal goal of getting to level 60 with that, so I might do that. Or not. It has to be spontaneous, and I don't have that much time, so we'll see. Oh, I also might do a video on heavy metal, White Dwarf, and the whimsical nature of early D&D in the 80s, because it was much more creative on the DM part and much more random, actually. I'll update you on this book when I've finished it. Alright, listen, I gotta go because I'm so tired. So, if you liked what I did, leave a comment, like, subscribe, or not. Live your life. It's okay. Alright, I'll see you.